Chapter 1 The Beginning. Geoffrey Oxley was born on the island of Giranan. He was the most powerful warrior in the world. His powers included excellent vision, powerful punching, great sword fighting powers, and he could soar into the sky when he lifted his sword. Every time he would lay down to rest, a messenger would appear at his door. The messenger would explain to him how the world needed him, and how powerful the thing was that was threatening the world. Whenever Mr. Oxley would be prepared to say no, the messenger would offer money as an award. Mr. Oxley could not refuse, so he would take the money and be on the quest the next day. Natalie Hoffman was born on a small, unknown island. She was a master at sword fighting. She had silky brown hair, and she was the most gorgeous warrior in the world. Her family was royalty, but after an evil lord destroyed her family, she lived in a castle by herself. She protected herself by sword fighting, and to the world she had disappeared. One afternoon, Geoffrey and Natalie were both in the market and ran into each other after paying. They fell madly in love moments after meeting each other. Since they both had no family, they quickly became engaged. Then one day, Geoffrey got a distress call from Queen Alana of the beautiful Starshine Islands. They went on this quest together, and when they arrived at Starshine, the beauty of the 6 islands immediately caught their attention. After they saved Queen Alana, she gave them both awards, and they traveled to a castle to marry privately. A few months later, Geoffrey and Natalie were sent to battle the evil White Dwarf. During the battle, White Dwarf sent lightning bolts from his fingertips and electrocuted Natalie. The bolts took all her powers away. After Natalie was given her health back, the two of them settled down in a small mansion together and had a baby boy. They named him Austin, after Geoffrey's father's name. After they gave birth to Austin and finally were allowed some peace and quiet, Mr. Oxley was desperately needed again on Starshine. Queen Alana was about to give birth to a child. Queen Alana died after giving birth to Princess Alexis. Mr. Oxley had to attend a meeting after her death. The head guard of the castle decided that Geoffrey and Natalie should raise Alexis until she turned 5. They raised Alexis and Austin as brother and sister. Daily, the couple traveled to the park with the children to allow them some outside activities. When Alexis turned 5, she was sent back to Starshine Islands and raised by the Starbrights. The citizens raised her together, pitching in on all the labor. The princess was raised in a marvelous castle that had been built for her mother before her death. After Alexis had been living back on Starshine Islands for almost a year, Geoffrey was sent to an unknown island on a very important quest. He was to battle a very powerful lord who had not been defeated or challenged ever before. Geoffrey was on the verge of defeating the villain when his muscles weakened and could not protect himself from the large wave of power that the Lord sent toward him. The wave collided into Geoffrey's weakened body and forced all the power from his veins and muscles. But after the wave circled Geoffrey's body, it was backfired toward the Lord and destroyed him completely, therefore saving Geoffrey's life. The Lord died instantly, for his powers were the only thing keeping him alive, and Geoffrey was just weakened and injured. Geoffrey was returned to his somewhat normal life after months in the hospital. Unfortunately, the doctors and nurses were not able to restore Geoffrey's powers, and his duty of serving as a warrior was suspended for good. But he hoped that when Austin would grow up, that he would carry on the family tradition. One night, about a year after Geoffrey's unfortunate incident, the Oxleys decided to go out to a fancy restaurant for a nice, relaxing dinner without cooking. They enjoyed the dinner, which included large servings of steamed lobster and beautiful dressed salads. At the end of the night, Geoffrey paid the bill, tipped the entertaining waiter for a nice evening, and they proceeded together to their car. They drove through the streets, enjoying the beautiful scenery of the buildings and the meadows on each side of the road. They drove into their subdivision that was home to most of the island's richest people. They looked down the road through the windshield and could see massive flames erupting into the streets from where their house was. Jeffrey pushed his foot on the gas pedal and stopped right before the fire. They ran out of the car, leaving Austin in his car seat in the back, and stared at the huge flames that flew from what used to be the base of their house. Austin looked out the window at the fire and began to grow scared. He started crying for his parents, but they focused on the horrible fire. Natalie ran to the neighbor's house and asked to use their phone. She dialed 911 and shouted to the secretary on the other line, "Our house just exploded with flames. We need help immediately. We're at 2024 Henderson Way. Hurry." She threw the phone back onto the receiver and ran back onto the street. She ran to the car and grabbed Austin, who screamed in his car seat, and held him in her arms. She tried to calm him down by singing into his ear the song that her mother used to sing to her. She was successful, and Austin rested his head on her shoulder. They awaited the arrival of the fire department. They began to hear blaring sirens near the entrance of the subdivision. The large red fire trucks drove down the street and stopped at the nearest fire hydrant. They hooked up the hoses and started their fight against the fire. The fire took all of their possessions. They decided to move to Starshine's third island called Darnish City and start all over again. Darnish City is the furthest city to the left of Queen Alana's kingdom. The two more important islands are in the middle, Queen Alana's kingdom and the Great Starbright City. The Great Starbright City is the oldest city of Starshine. It is also the biggest and holds more important and historical buildings: the Starbright Clock Tower, the Golden Castle, the Opera House, and the Great Starbright Church. When Austin turned 10, he received his powers. This was a bit odd because usually the young warriors get their powers when they are much older. When he got his powers, his parents knew that he would be very powerful. As Austin grew older, he got more powerful as he practiced with his father. He gained many powers: power punching, sword fighting, speed, and supervision. He could also soar into the air when he raised his sword into the air like his father. When he turned 16, he was a very productive young man with incredible powers. He had massive muscles and was tall for his age. When he attended school, all the girls fell for him. Even some of the Starbright girls had secret crushes on him. But one day things went terribly wrong. That was chapter 1.